Keldon Johnson is the best young player that nobody's talking about. After being drafted a couple seasons back, Keldon has done nothing but improve his game season after season, and he's truly never gotten that credit that he deserves. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports, I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. But anyways, let's get into it. Keldon Johnson was drafted with the number 29 overall selection during the 2019 NBA draft by the San Antonio Spurs. And originally when Keldon was being drafted, he was seen as a really nice scoring threat. A player that could be a decent level starter with that scoring ability or come off the bench and be a decent player there. But fast forwarding to when he was drafted, the fact that he was getting selected by the San Antonio Spurs, just like for any other young player, was seen as a perfect scenario. Because probably as most of you already know, the Spurs have been known to develop young talent at a very high level. So drafting a player who clearly had talent but needed to develop that talent was a perfect scenario for the Spurs, and also Keldon Johnson of course. And in Keldon's rookie season, he had an okay year, averaging 9 points per game on 59% shooting from the field, 3.4 rebounds on 0.9 assists. Now he also only played 17 games due to injuries and some other factors. But the great quality that Keldon had and still has to this day is he's an extremely hard worker. And I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but whenever a player is an extremely hard worker, those are the type of players that turn out to be the best players in the league and the very good players in the league. Because at this point in the NBA, all these players are extremely talented. But the players that turn out to be the best players in the league and just the better players in the league in general are always the harder workers. Because they're always looking for different ways to improve certain aspects of their games. And after all the hard work that Keldon put in his second year, he definitely had a better season, averaging around 13 points per game on 47% shooting from the field, 6 rebounds per game on 1.8 assists. And he was also a lot more healthy that year, playing 69 games. And that continued hard work that Keldon put into his game season after season, and especially during the off seasons, truly paid off during this last year. As last season, Keldon had a breakout year, averaging 17 points per game on 46% shooting from the field, 6.1 rebounds on 2.1 assists. And also staying pretty healthy, playing 75 games. But probably the most impressive thing to me personally wasn't even the numbers, but it was more so how he played out there. When watching Keldon play last season, he did a phenomenal job at not only playing very well off ball, but also playing very well on the ball and creating for himself. And that kind of ability makes him a winning player and a player that other guys want to play with. Because we've seen a ton of examples of players in the past that have all the talent in the world when they have the ball in their hands. But when they don't have the ball in their hands, they turn into ineffective players that just don't promote winning, and a player that other guys don't want to play with. But the great thing about Keldon is, of course, he's not that guy. But now, let's break down Keldon's game to really see what he does well out there and why he was able to have a breakout year last year. Now, starting with his three-point shooting, honestly, Keldon does most of his damage with that catch-and-shoot three-point jump shot. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have other abilities from that range. He also has a nice ability to cross over, sidestep, and step back from that range as well. And on top of all of that, Keldon also shot a phenomenal percentage from deep, shooting around 39%. But now moving on to his mid-range shooting ability, he definitely also has a nice ability from that range. He has all the abilities that he had from that three-point range. In terms of his catch-and-shoot, sidestep, step back, crossover, even has somewhat of a post turnaround fadeaway within his game as well, which is something that I mentioned in a lot of my videos as being a very effective shot. But once driving all the way to the basket, Keldon does a really nice job at either A, putting up a floater in the lane, B, finishing around players with crafty layups, or even C, finishing through contact. Keldon definitely has a really nice ability to finish around the basket. And at this point, I could truly say that Keldon's a very good 3-level scorer. And the reason why that's important is, let's just say, for example, you're a very good three-point shooter, but that's all you have. If you're a very good three-point shooter, then the defender could easily just guard up on you and you wouldn't really be able to do anything about it. Because at that point, it would just be very difficult to score the basketball. But if you were a true 3-level scorer and you also had an ability to drive all the way to the basket at a very high level, then the defender would need to respect that ability of your game as well and play you straight up and not necessarily play up very high on you, because at that that point you can easily just blow by them and finish around the basket. So adding that 3-level scoring ability to your offensive skill set just makes you that much more dangerous. And I really feel, focusing back on Keldon, that we really saw his game open up ever since he added some other aspects to his offensive game. Now, besides his individual scoring ability, Keldon also has done a nice job to improve his passing and playmaking ability over the years. Now, you may look at his statistics and see that he only averaged 2 assists per game last year, and that was his breakout season. So you may ask, what am I talking about when bringing up this point? Now, similar to his points per game not telling the whole story, at least in my opinion, I feel like his assists per game also don't tell the full story. And what I mean by that is, when you actually watch Keldon on the court, I feel like he has better passing and playmaking abilities than his numbers would suggest. And although I don't think he's a good passer and playmaker by any means, I do think he does have better abilities than most think. When watching him out there on the court, I feel like he just has a pretty good understanding of the game, has a good understanding of where his teammates are going to be out there on the court, and there has been a bunch of times where he drives all the way to the basket, initially looking for his own points, but then sees an open teammate in the corner for 3, or maybe cutting all the way to the basket for an easy dunk or layup, and he dishes the ball off pretty effectively. And that kind of ability for a score-first player is very valuable to your team and very valuable to help your team win. Because as I mentioned before, there are a lot of players in the league that are very talented offensively in terms of their individual scoring abilities, but don't necessarily have that passing and playmaking ability to find teammates. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to be a great passer and playmaker, but if you just have a decent understanding of the game and a decent understanding of where your teammates are going to be out there, I feel like that just benefits you and your teammates out significantly. And one other thing that I quickly want to mention in regards to his assists per game is, after DeJounte Murray got traded, I think his numbers are going to go up a little bit, talking about Keldon Johnson's assist numbers. Just because I feel like the ball is going to be in his hands a little bit more now with the departure of DeJounte. But now, what are my expectations for Keldon going forward? Now, based on the title of the video, I feel like it's pretty clear that I am very high in Keldon Johnson. And I do see him as a player that's just going to continuously improve his game season after season until he eventually reaches his ceiling. Now, what that ceiling will be, only time will tell, but I do feel as if Keldon can get to a point where he's a legitimate all-star. Now, if he turns out to be a player that's close to an all-star level but never gets to that point, or he becomes a player that only makes the all-star team 1 or 2 seasons, obviously that still will be a successful career for him based upon when he was drafted, but I personally have higher expectations based upon what I've seen from him early on into his career. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Keldon Johnson is an underrated player for what he does out there, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these 2 videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out, guys.